Video loading. Video unavailable. Click to play. Tap to play. Video will start in 8. Cancel play now. There might not be a match for Mauricio Pochettino and his Tottenham Hotspur players this weekend, but there is still plenty going on at the North London club. Spurs face a weekend off because of their FA Cup exit at the hands of Crystal Palace, although Tottenham Hotspur ladies face a big tie against Manchester City in the Women's FA Cup at Cheshire FC, 2 p.m. kick-off today. With the men's team, there are still plenty of questions being asked about the new 62,062-seater stadium and rumors of failed safety tests, when it will finally open, and what fixtures could yet be played there this season, if any. Then there is the prospect of new contracts for Christian Eriksen, Toby Alderweireld and Son Heung-min, and when Harry Kane and Dele Alli will return from their injuries. There is also the question of summer transfers, who leaves, who arrives, and whether there's any money to actually spend. Our Tottenham correspondent Alasdair Gold has been posed hundreds of your questions across social media, including those topics above, and he's trying his best to answer them below. Scroll down for plenty of Spurs news, updates, behind-the-scenes info and opinion, which will constantly refresh automatically with new questions and answers. Keep up to date with the latest Tottenham Hotspur news, features and exclusives from football. London via our free WhatsApp service. Text news to 07776197989 and then add the number to your phone contacts book as Spurs.London, case sensitive, with spaces, to receive daily updates and breaking news from Alasdair Gold and the team on Spurs. Your phone number won't be shared with any other members of the group. Click here for more information on the service. 1315 Lewis Manners asks on our Spurs WhatsApp SERVICE 1315 we should get an update on Jansen soon. The fact that he was simply marked as ineligible by the club this week in the press injury briefings, rather than his injury mentioned, would indicate that it's not considered a long-term knee problem and he should be back in training soon. We'll find out this week ahead of the Burnley game, when all the players return from their time off. The whole Jansen situation is an unfortunate one. Pochettino has had little choice but to bring him back into the first-team squad because the club just couldn't move him on. With the cup exits, the Dutchman is still very unlikely to play a minute of football before the end of the season, as he's fifth choice behind Kane, Llorente, Son, and Lucas. I do feel sorry for him because he gave his all in that first season, but it just didn't come off for him. His spell in Turkey didn't bring many goals either before his foot injury halfway through it. Having watched him in a few U23s matches this year, he does look sharper than before, but it feels like it'll be another wasted season in his career. 1300 hours Robert Coyle asks on FACEBOOK 1259 I think a lot depends. If there's serious interest, Spurs are working hard to tie Eriksen up to a new deal, and I'd heard there has been some progress in recent weeks, but a lot depends on how serious the interest is from Spain. The Dane is happy at Spurs and enjoys playing for Pochettino and with his teammates. However, he turned 27 on Valentine's Day, and the lure of a new challenge at Real Madrid or Barcelona just can't be ruled out. Much depends on whether either of the La Liga giants would pay whatever Daniel Levy would ask for a player who will have just a year left on his contract in the summer. Pochettino certainly knows Eriksen is integral to his side, and the club will struggle to find a like-for-like fit for such a rare player, a playmaker who runs more than anyone else. Tottenham need to throw everything that can at Eriksen in the coming months to get him to commit before the Spanish giants make any concrete advances. If he will not commit, then Spurs will have to make a decision on whether to cash in or lose such a valuable player for free in 2020. 12:53 A question from our Spurs WhatsApp SERVICE 12:52. He's a talented lad if he keeps his head down and works hard. The 17-year-old striker has got all the attributes to be a big success at the club. Pochettino has been impressed with him, and the young Irish striker has been training regularly with the squad this season and traveled with them to matches as the 19th man on a couple of occasions to get him used to a first-team matchday experience. The failure to offload Vincent Janssen could be a blow to hopes of seeing him getting first-team minutes this season, as has been the exit from the FA Cup. It's no big deal, though, if Parrott, who signed his first pro deal with the club on his birthday this month, gets more time to develop in the U23s this season. He'll likely play in the UEFA Youth League knockout match in Greece this week, and it's all more experience for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's taken on the pre-season tour this summer with the first team, and then we could see him getting minutes next season. 12:45 A player of the season question 12:43. I'd go for Musa. Son has been amazing since November and has really stepped up when Spurs have needed him. Alderweireld has been really dependable as well after a tough season last time around, but for me Musa Sissoko has been the fulcrum of everything Spurs have done well this season. He's been the driving force in midfield, and the change in his confidence levels has been there for all to see. Spurs haven't looked as good without him, and that's testament to his performance. Of course, if Son continues to score in every game, then he'll run away with the vote, but for me Sissoko has so far been the team's most consistent player and has made the biggest strides this season in every sense. 12:38 Another stadium question 12:37 There's certainly a logic to that. The further back the games, the more time it gives Spurs with the stadium, of course. If Palace are involved in FA Cup weekends, and don't forget Brighton, that means a Saturday rearranged game is unlikely. You'd think Spurs would want to open the stadium in the daylight with all eyes on them and everything visible, but it might end up being a case of needs must and a midweek opening if they can still open it this season. Fingers crossed the testing period is completed soon, and then we'll have a better idea of the opening game. 12:09 A question about Spurs foreign player issues 12:08 Dyer and Davies play a big part. UEFA believe England international Eric Dyer and Wales international Ben Davies are not considered to be locally trained due to their academy years in Portugal and Wales respectively, so while in the Premier League they're British, in Europe they're foreign. It's mad, I know. Spurs also haven't helped themselves by having 3 foreign goalkeepers in Loris, Gazzaniga, and Vorm, while other teams have a homegrown player as the third keeper. Rather than me waffling on, I wrote this piece before the transfer window closed, which explains the whole foreign player issue and why other clubs don't suffer like Spurs. 12:01 A question about Kane and Ali 12:01 It's certainly looking good for Kane. Kane is working hard on his fitness and Pochettino seems to think he could be back for the Burnley match in 6 days' time. I saw Dele Alli working in the gym the other day at the club, and the midfielder was certainly put through his paces in Dubai as part of his rehabilitation before his return to the UK on Wednesday. I wouldn't be shocked to see him back on the bench for Burnley, but there's no real need to rush him back for that game, with Chelsea, Arsenal, and Dortmund all coming afterwards. 11:56 A question about the stadium. To start off 11:55, it's all about that safety system. Much of the exterior is now complete and plenty of the interior, but the club can't even announce test events until they get that problematic fire safety system up and fully operational. They have been testing the systems through in the last couple of weeks, with smoke tests going on and the evacuation system has been tested. I had been tipped off that smoke tests across the basement level this week had failed in certain areas and would need work to fix, causing further delays. However, the word I got back from within the club was that any talk of failed tests was complete rubbish, so hopefully that means we're getting towards the end of that saga. There is set to be another announcement within the next fortnight, as it needs to be announced where the Crystal Palace game will be played. However, it's worth pointing out that that game will be moved if Palace beat Doncaster Rovers in the FA Cup this afternoon. 11:41 Welcome to the Tottenham Hotspur Q&A. My name is Alasdair Gold. You might know me as the bloke with the Mr. Bean voice who asks Mauricio Pochettino random questions in press conferences, or the scruffy-looking bloke who walks around the stadium sometimes, desperate to be let inside. Anyway, less of the waffling, let's get to answering some Spurs questions.